morning or good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this launch edition of AFRA Sky Connect Leadership Dialogues. The AFRA Sky Connect Leadership Dialogue series will every month host a top executive from aviation, tourism, trade, and financial or economic sectors for a thought-provoking one-on-one dialogue on matters relevant to the aviation development. Expect nothing but out-of-the-box thinking and far-reaching recommendations to shape African aviation. My name is Maureen Kahonge, Senior Manager, Business Development and Communications at AFRA. Our guest today is none other than AFRA Secretary General, Mr. Abderrahmane Berthé. And the session will be moderated by Raphael Kuchi, AFRA Director, Government, Legal and Industry Affairs. A few housekeeping announcements before I hand over to the moderator. To have a better quality of the session, all audio and video functionalities are disabled except for the speakers on panel. The session is scheduled to run for 1 hour, during which the moderator will have a one-on-one discussion with our guest. We will take your questions and request that you post them through the Q&A tab. We will do our best to respond as much as possible within the scheduled time, and the questions that will overflow today's session will be addressed post-webinar. We also welcome your comments on the chat function. Please let us know your name and where you're joining us from. Post-webinar, we will also share the recording of today's session with all participants. I now hand over to you, moderator, Raphael. Thank you.
So to start off, let's kick off, Mr. Berthé. Welcome to this inaugural edition, and thank you for making time to be my first guest. I would just want you to inform us briefly, how do you see the state of the African airline industry today? Thank you.
Thank you, Raphael, and good morning or good afternoon to everyone following this interview. Thank you for having me as the first guest of the AFRA Sky Connect Dialogue. As everyone knows, African aviation is hugely impacted by the COVID-19 situation since March 2020. I don't want to come back on the figures. Everyone knows what it is. Today, the level of capacity on African routes is less than 50% of the level it was before the pandemic. African airlines have lost a lot of revenues because of travel restrictions. And the consequence of this loss of revenues is a very difficult cash situation of airlines. As you know, African airlines were, before the COVID-19, in a very difficult situation. So the COVID-19 is aggravating this situation.
So, Mr. Berthé, the situation is there for African airlines, but I think it's the same for all global airlines. So now, before this crisis, Africa was grappling with some safety and security issues. And I recall that the situation as reported by ICAO, IATA, and yourselves indicate that African air transport safety and security situation was improving significantly. Now, with what is happening, how would it impact safety and security?
First of all, safety and security as the collective responsibility, not only of airlines, but also regulators, airports, and service providers. And since the start of the COVID-19, one of the concerns of the industry was to keep a good level of safety and security. That's why the ICAO CAT and also the African Union High-Level Task Force made the recommendations to regulators and airlines in order to safeguard this level of security and safety. And what is happening on safety and security? As you know, Africa has improved a lot on safety and security. And we also have the SATAM Joint Prioritized Action Plan, which pillar number 5 is about safety and security, how to implement the Abuja safety target and the Windhoek security target in Africa, and also how to strengthen the establishment of a regional safety oversight organization across the continent. So a lot has been done in the area of safety and security in Africa. Still, we need to continue this effort to keep the safety level and to further improve it.
But considering that resources are now very scarce and airlines themselves, as you indicated earlier, are in big trouble, where will we find resources to continue to work on safety and security?
You know, even if resources are limited, you cannot oversee the safety issues. As I said, safety is a priority, because in any business, if you don't have safety, your business cannot grow. So you can understand that for all AFRA members, safety is something we need to keep and to improve. And I may say that AFRA, IATA, and AFCAF, the African Civil Aviation Commission, have signed a tripartite agreement which aims to enhance the safety level within African airlines.
That's encouraging to know, Mr. Bette. Now, let me ask you about infrastructure. A few years back, we were all concerned about the excessive infrastructure developments taking place in some countries, and in some cases, not proportionate to the size of traffic. And today, I'm sure in many of the African airports, infrastructure, probably availability is no longer a constraint, but probably its maintenance still is. How are we going to ensure we have the right level of infrastructure going forward?
Going forward, we think it's very important for government to associate users when they have infrastructure development projects. The projects should be appropriate and adequate to the size of the activities in the country. This is very important because we don't want states to put very huge infrastructure and then to return on investment, they will charge or tax users on that. So it's very important to associate users, and also it's very important to adopt and implement ICAO policies on infrastructure development and economic regulations.
Talking about high taxes, I know that has always been your clarion call to African governments to ensure that tax actually proportionate to the level of service that is being delivered. But as we go on now, do you think that African governments who are stretched out for resources would be able to come down on taxes for the aviation sector?
You know, tackling the issue of high taxes and charges is very important. Because with high taxes and charges today, African citizens cannot afford air travels. So the consequence is a reduction of the number of people taking flying. So it's very important to understand that reducing taxi charges and fees will have as a consequence to boost the traffic, and everyone will benefit from that. Even the government who is taking taxes. If there are more travelers, it's a good thing for everyone. And you can see, yes, okay?
Go ahead, just finish.
And you can see that in other regions worldwide, the level of taxes and charges is more reduced than in Africa. So it's really a problem in Africa, and specifically in West and Central Africa. We need to address this issue.
Yeah, talking about Central and West Africa, a very trying and challenging region indeed. Would you agree with me? Because I am thinking that with what is happening to the aviation industry today and looking into the future, it has always been my view that probably Africa should begin to look more towards converting the struggling airlines to focus more on low-cost operations rather than continuing in the legacy model. Would you agree with my thoughts?
I agree with you, yes and not. Because you see, low-cost activities, if you look at liberalization in other regions of the world, the low-cost business came at the end of the liberalization. In Africa, we are just starting the liberalization. In other regions, it took more than 10 years to liberalize. If you take in Europe, they started in the 90s, but the low-cost carriers came early in 2001, for example. So in Africa today, we are operating in a high-cost environment. So it's not possible to have low fares. And I will remind that the low-cost operation is based on some key principles. You need to have a high-density short-haul traffics. And you need also to have reduced costs. Unfortunately, in Africa, we are still missing these key drivers for low-cost carrier. And also, it depends on the economies of the countries. The GDPs per capita in Africa is so low that only 10% of Africans can afford to travel by air today. So we really need to liberalize, to reduce cost, and so that in order to allow more African to be able to buy tickets.
Anyway, we'll discuss more about liberalization in this discussion a bit later. But for now, so you're saying that we should continue with the legacy model, even against the background, in my view, that we are going to end up with a less business travel and even lesser of the economic travelers. So that is why I was of the view that probably a different model, either than what is traditional today in Africa, might work out. But I hear you. Low cost is based on certain fundamentals. If they don't exist, then we definitely still have a challenge. Now, another area which I know both Afra and IATA have been passionate about in the past is the contribution of aviation to the economies of Africa. And there have been figures thrown out there significantly about how much aviation contributes to the GDPs of the world and by extension to African economies, how many people are employed, how it facilitates trade, and how it promotes tourism. Mr. Bette, tell me, to what extent has aviation contribution in these areas been impacted by COVID?
Yes, this is not only about aviation being impacted by COVID-19. You see, COVID-19 is impacting all sectors of economies worldwide, trade and tourism. As a result, the aviation sector is the most impacted, I can say. Consequently, many jobs are at risk, and the contribution of aviation to African economy is lowered, of course. But I remain optimistic. There is the COVID-19. I think there will be an after COVID-19. And after COVID-19, aviation will still continue to have a very important contribution to African economies and to the integration, social and economic integration of the continent. We urge African government to support African aviation sector for survival and recovery as soon as possible.
Thanks. Would you agree with me that governments across Africa have now than ever before come to appreciate the value and contribution of aviation? Because when COVID struck, all of a sudden, all the finest airlines that they were used to that were supporting Africa suddenly disappeared from the skies. And we were left with our own airlines, which we were not supporting, being the one to continue to support trade, business, and move medical staff and facilities around the continent to support this initiative. Would you agree with me that governments are now conscious that indeed Africa needs its own airlines, but more important, its own very strong airlines?
Yes, Raphael. All of us, we remember that at the beginning of the COVID-19, it was airlines cargo operation, which were transporting medical equipment, PBAs, and today we are talking about airlines also to transport vaccines across the continent. Also, we have realized that air transport is very, very key in Africa for connectivity, because land means of transportations are very weak across the continent. So I hope that African states will understand with the COVID-19 that air transport sector is very important for the development of the continent, and also to bring countries more closer, because Africa is 54 countries, and the only way to unite the continent is air transport, really.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned cargo, which in the past was actually a neglected area in Africa, but today it's become the hero, it's become the revenue earner for many airlines. Now, to what extent should African airlines focus on cargo, even after COVID?
Yes, I will give the example of Ethiopian Airlines. They transform 25 aircraft from passenger to cargo. Kenya Airways transformed one Dreamliner to cargo operations. Astral Aviation received a Boeing 767 cargo recently. So we are now realizing that cargo activities is growing in Africa. And I will add on that, so you have the African Continental Free Trade Area, which has started on 1st of January. And I think this will boost also passengers and cargo operations on the continent. So airlines need really to look at, to rethink their cargo operations because they can benefit from cargo operations also.
Excellent. So cargo is becoming the kingmaker now in airlines and no longer passenger. I'm happy to hear that. Now, in your view, if we can move forward and look into the future a bit now, I was just thinking, the industry is battered not only in Africa but globally. When do you think we are going to begin to see traffic up to the level that we saw in 2019 before the rain started beating us?
Okay, so you agree with me, this is not an easy question. It's not easy to guess. So some experts...
But I'm assuming that as SG of AFRA, you always have a crystal ball. Some crystal ball, you probably can give us some information.
Some experts are making projections. In December last year, the projection was to get to 50% of the traffic levels, 2019 level in December 2021. Since we had the new variant of the COVID-19, and now experts are talking about 38% of the 2019 level before end of this year. And also, for Africa, it will depend on how the vaccination will be implemented across the continent. As you know, Africa is expecting to vaccinate only 20% of the population by end of 2021. The herd immunity is 60%. And to get to the herd immunity, experts are saying it will take 2 to 3 years. So it means that only in 2023, 2024, we'll have a vaccination of more than 60% of African citizens. So we are not expecting to get to the 2019 traffic levels before end of 2023.
Wow, that's a long time in coming. How would airlines survive?
So airlines need to be agile, to adapt to this situation, to rethink their business, to put in place some cost management, and as you said, also to consider developing new businesses like a cargo operation, for example. So also we need to see more cooperations among African airlines to survive. I think airlines can really adapt to this situation.
Wow. But it's a lot of adjustment to make between now and then, I would guess. Yeah. But
I agree with you. It's a kind of revolution.
Yeah. Now, if we were to look at travel in the future, how do you think it's going to be like? Is it going to be business as usual, travel as we know it today? Is it going to be different? Will we be carrying COVID certificates around? Will we be doing less of travel? How do you see the future of travel?
No, nothing will be like before, if I can say. Since the COVID-19, we have seen a lot of virtual meetings. And I think even after the COVID, we'll continue to have virtual meetings because more people today know how to use these applications for e-meetings. Of course, there will be some physical meeting because it's always good to meet people. So this may impact the traffic, business travel for airlines. I think we'll have a reduced level of business travel. Also, as I said, the COVID-19 is impacting today the tourism activities also. So it will take quite some time for business tourism activities to come back. And we think that the recovery will start by domestic and regional activities. And as you know, today, the intercontinental activities is very low today due to restrictions. So also for passengers, nothing will be like before in terms of health safety protocols, health screening protocols, the configuration at airports also. We are seeing some new technologies, innovations coming in the aviation sector, and Africa need to be part of these evolutions.
Talking about Africa needs to be part of this, I noticed that globally when the pandemic struck, many of the countries around the world were providing some form of financial support one way or the other to help not just airlines, but the entire aviation sector stay afloat. Thankfully, in Africa, we were not left out. Our very own African Union constituted a high-level task force, which was very commendable. And together with AFCAC, they put a team together and a lot of work was done. What were some of the significant conclusions of that high-level task force?
So first of all, I would like to commend African Union Commission and the African Civil Aviation Commission for putting in place in May 2020 this high-level task force. It was an occasion to work together all the aviation stakeholders, and the high-level task force came out with some recommendations, 16 recommendations on various areas, and I will just cite 3 of them. The first area important for us is the financial recommendations. 2 of them are key for our industry. It was decided to put in place a $25 billion fund to assist the aviation sector. And a call was made to African states to put aviation sector as a priority sector in their policies. And the second one is about how to guarantee sustainability of air transport after COVID-19. One of the recommendations is to pursue the implementation of SATAM, the Single African Air Transport Market, and also to reduce the high cost environment, taxes and charges. We talked about it before. And lastly, I'll talk about the recommendations regarding policy harmonization and cooperation. So you know that the ICAO CART made some recommendations, and these recommendations are evolving because the pandemic is also evolving. Now the ICAO has convened the third phase of the CART, and we are following these recommendations, and we urge states and industry players to follow these recommendations.
To what extent have we implemented these recommendations? Have some airlines gotten some money? Have we been able to reduce taxes and charges, so on and so forth, as contained in these recommendations? Or where are we?
You know, the picture depends from state to state, so from airline to airline. Some airlines have received support from the government. Mostly it was state-owned carriers. And at AFRA, we are calling for support to even private sectors. We organized in June 2020 a webinar with some development and financial institutions to see how they can support our members. And currently, the Secretariat is in contact with another DFI, and we will organize another meeting, webinar, by the end of March. And I hope that many of our members will attend it and to see how we can continue to support financially our members.
Excellent. You know, I always have a feeling that when COVID struck, I saw African Development Bank was very, very strongly behind the industry. Afrexim Bank came on board. UNECA was on our side, and a lot was happening with their collaboration. You know, I believe that going forward, we should not leave these partners out of our planning and our decision making as a vision to go further. I don't know what you think, but they can significantly change the financial standing of our airlines and help our airlines become more robust than they are today. What do you think?
Yes, I agree with you. We have been in contact with many development and financial institutions. I know that they are willing to support our industry, and I would like here to commend the African Union Commission and the African Civil Aviation Commission, because they are following up on these recommendations, which are very, very important. And I do hope that soon we will get some results from it, because as you rightly said, the high-level task force made some recommendations, and still airlines are waiting for support. And I think by the end of June, next June, I hope that we'll have concrete actions from DFIs to support African airlines. This is very, very important. And today, Afra Secretariat is really pushing and doing actions to see this happen as soon as possible.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen who are listening to us, please ask your questions, post your questions, and in between, I would bring them up, Abdulrahman, to give us some answers on what you are posting. So please, if anything is worrying you and you need clarity, you want to get more information, please just put it on the Q&A tab and we will deal with it as we go along. Now, at this point, allow me to also thank you particularly and the team at AFRA for doing a fantastic job when COVID struck, because any meeting of the aviation industry that you are party to, you are told, yeah, and AFRA is in the lead, and AFRA is leading that, AFRA is doing that, which is very commendable. And then you seem to have done quite a lot within this space. But specifically, what are you doing to actually support your members in their operations to get out of these challenges?
Yes, you see, AFRA took various initiatives at the beginning of the COVID-19. We worked out a recovery plan early in April 2020 with actions to be an initiative to be undertaken by AFRA Secretariat and also our member airlines. In the area of cooperation between our members, we put in place an interactive capacity sharing portal, which was launched in August. It allows our members to post their aircraft reliabilities and to share capacities between members. And also, one of the implications of the COVID-19 was the connectivity within the continent. This was something we wanted to look at, and we organized in December a webinar with our members to see how African airline can fill the connectivity gap across the continent. And going forward, we are currently working on a connectivity portal, which will be available by next June, and it will allow airlines to see the area where they can decide to put flight or to cooperate with another member airlines. Our action was also about appeals to government, to DFIs, as I said. AFRA, in 18th of March, at the beginning, the very beginning of the COVID-19, we sent an appeal to all African governments to support the aviation sector. I talk also about the finance. We organized a webinar in June on finance, and also we made a survey on the indebtedness of African airlines in May. We participated to the high-level task force of African Union Commission, as we talk about, and also, very important, we worked on a strategic plan, a 5-year strategic plan of AFRA, taking in account the COVID-19 and its implication going forward. So
what are some of the highlights of the strategic plan?
Yes, the strategic plan is a 9 pillars strategic plan. It was very important for us at the beginning of the pandemic to give a sort of guidance to ourselves and to airlines how to navigate through the difficult situation of COVID-19. The 9 pillars are about a relation with government, states, regulators, suppliers, and service providers, and also the customers, how to manage the customers, the maintenance and the MROs, and cost management and cargo operation, we talk about it, the human resources, and how to put in place strategies to maintain business continuity. So there are 9 pillars, and under these pillars, the Secretariat is also working and developing some new projects for the benefit of our members.
Wonderful, wonderful. Abdulrahman, at this point, let me take a few questions that I've seen posted on, and then you respond to them, then we continue. One of the questions is this an opportunity? I'm actually referring to the dire state in which African airlines find themselves amidst all the complications brought about by COVID. That is this an opportunity to rethink airline strategies, to refocus their networks to intra-Africa? You think?
Yes. You see, intra-Africa activities should be the core business of African airlines. We currently, before the COVID-19, we had some global operators, maybe 5 or 6. I think we need to focus more on intra-Africa, because the connectivity intra-Africa, even before the COVID-19, was very weak, and the liberalization of traffic intra-Africa will also boost the intra-African traffic. And the African Continental Free Trade Area is also something which will complement the liberalization of skies. I think we need to reform the...
If I may, at this point, yes, you mentioned the free trade area, and there's another question which is saying, how are African airlines positioning themselves to take advantage of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area? So if you can just add that to your response.
You see, the African Continental Free Trade Area started, in fact, on 1st of January. I would like here to commend African Union Commission, because we have started to work with the technical team of African Continental Free Trade Area to see areas of synergies and where the aviation stakeholders can work with the Secretariat of the Continental Free Trade Area, so that we can put in place some joint initiatives and projects which will benefit for the Continental Free Trade Area and SADAM. You know, one of the three pillars of the continental free trade area is transportation. And if you look at transportation in Africa, air transport plays a very important role in transportation because road transportation network is very, very weak in Africa. So it's very important to work together and see how we can improve.
Thank you. On the movement of people and related to COVID, another question is, how can AFRA and AFCA convince health authorities to have more confidence in the Safe Air Travel Initiative? And related to that, how active is the conversation among AFRA, AFCA, CDC, and health authorities?
You see, government should be confident in the safety of air transport, because I talk about the ICAO CAPS recommendations. I think government, airlines, all service providers need to implement these guidelines. Doing so, we guarantee safety for passengers when they are traveling on the continent. Now, regarding the action being done at the African level, there is the task force set up by the African Union Commission and African CDC. AFRA is part of this task force, and they are working, stakeholders are working together to see how to continue improving the measures and the protocols which have to be implemented across the continent.
Okay. Now, another question for you. AFRA has identified taxes as a key cost component. But the question now is, what is AFRA doing to ensure airlines access affordable fuel, manage internal costs, that is internal employee-related costs, and governance issues that affect African airlines?
Yes, the price of fuel is something very high in Africa and impacting the financial results of African airlines. At AFRA, we have a joint fuel procurement committee, which is working with member airlines to see how to reduce fuel costs. And also, we are undertaking some specific actions with IATA on fuel taxes. And even we are organizing some site visits in countries where we think that taxes on fuel are very, very high. So AFRA is working. We have today on the pipe a lot of projects which objectives is to reduce cost of operations for members. And also, I want to commend African Civil Aviation Commission because they are organizing next week and the week after a capacity building webinar on economic regulations of air transport for sustainability across the continent. I'm happy that they have asked AFRA to make a presentation of the impact of taxes and charges on airlines.
Good. Excellent. And a lot is happening behind the scenes, and probably we need to aggressively communicate more and let our members know how we are dealing with their issues. Now, let me move on to SATAM and the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, which you talked briefly a moment ago. Now, where are we with SATAM implementation?
Okay, so SATAM implementation is something going on. Huh? The pace of implementation, I can say, is slow, because as of today, we have 34 states who signed it, and we have only 18 states which have signed also the memorandum of implementation. But stakeholders are continuing to work on it. And on 1st and 2nd March, we had the 4th meeting of the SATAM Joint Prioritized Action Plan. It's a yearly meeting, and where we have actions for all aviation stakeholders, and we are following up. And now I think SATAM implementation depends on the goodwill of states. So it's very important also to convince African states that liberalization has a positive impact on their economies. This may take some time because many states want to protect their career, or they want to see their career strongest before they open up their
Can we begin a conversation to tell these states that they have no carriers to protect going forward unless they open up the market? Because what they think are carriers may eventually disappear. And so they open up the market is bigger, then they can have a pie, a piece of the bigger pie, rather than close into the small one, which is going flying nowhere.
I fully agree with you. This is advocacy is the pillar 1 of the Joint Prioritized Action Plan of SATAM. We are working on it, all our stakeholders. Our mission under this pillar of advocacy is related to African airlines. And we will organize soon with the African Civil Aviation Commission and the African Union Commission a capacity building on SATAM for the benefit of our member airlines.
Optimistically, when do you think we would see some semblance of real implementation of SATAM, at least even if it's among the 18 who have signed the memorandum of implementation?
I am optimistic. You see, some African states are even already have implemented the SATAM. Most of them are in West Africa. Many West African countries have already opened up their sky.
But nobody is telling us.
Sorry?
Nobody is telling us that some are implementing. We don't know. So we are assuming that nobody is implementing.
Yes, I agree with you. The African Union Commission is developing some KPIs on the YD implementation. And under these KPIs, we will be looking at states by states and see what is being done. And I hope that very soon, this data will be available to all.
So in your view, as Secretary General of AFRA, who can lead the crusade to see us implement SATAM as soon as possible? Would it be the governments of our various countries? Would it be AFCA? Would it be AU? Would it be AFRA or another body?
I think it's all of us, we need to play our role. The government, the state need to adhere to the principle of SATAM. Airlines need also to comply with some rules of SATAM. So it's that's why we have this Joint Prioritized Action Plan, because all stakeholders need, in fact, to work together to make it happen.
So if SATAM is successful, they always say it will boost Africa Continental Free Trade Area. How is that? The two are separate projects, running at their own pace. Why would the success of SATAM impact the success of Africa Continental Free Trade Area?
You see, as I said, transport is one of the pillars of trade. So, better connectivity will impact positively trade also. And when trade develops, also will have a growing market for passengers and cargo. That's why, for me, the two need to go together. I agree with you, the pace of implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area is quicker than the SATAM. But SATAM also is growing, even if it's slowing. And the most important thing for me is that these two initiatives need to work together and to find win-win situation for SATAM and the Continental Free Trade Area.
Mr. Abdulrahman, we don't have much time left, just about 5 minutes, but I cannot let you go without actually asking you to give us some input on the vaccine transportation in Africa. What is the role of African airlines in supporting the distribution of these vaccines across the continent?
So, as I said, many African airlines have prepared themselves to be in a position to transport vaccines across the African continent. Also, it is important that at airport we have cold storage facilities. So I think airports and government need also to make sure that these facilities exist. So already we have some African carriers which are carrying vaccines across the continent. We need to see more members doing so, and we need to see more airports also in capacity to store vaccines.
Now, finally, what is your personal view on the call to prioritize vaccination for airline frontline staff?
This is very, very important. It's not only for aviation. All people in front line with customers need to be vaccinated as soon as possible. And we have some recommendation from the CAT, the ICAO CAT, and also the high-level task force of African Union Commission made the recommendation regarding harmonizations. We really need to follow up these recommendations. One of my strong recommendations for airlines will be to vaccinate the frontline staff members. This is very important.
Thank you so much, Mr. Betty. Let me now go back. There are a few more questions. I take them, and if you can give me your response very briefly, then we can wrap up this session. Now, one of the questioners wants to know your thoughts. That he's thinking that probably post-COVID, we might have a high concentration of airlines, too many airlines in Africa, basically, depending on what support they get from their governments. Too many or too little? What is your view on that?
I always felt that there are too many airlines in Africa. And the number is not the problem. The problem is that those airlines need really to cooperate. And in doing so, they can be more sustainable. What we are seeing today is a proliferation of African airlines which are not cooperating, which are operating the same kind of routes and networks. And at the end of the day, they are not profitable. Maybe there will be some consolidations. And because I do think that Africa needs a lot of carriers, of course, because the continent is very huge, and we need airlines at global level, but also at sub-regional levels. And those systems need to work together in order to create a better connectivity across the continent.
Thank you. Another question. What is AFRA doing to encourage its members, to encourage their governments to open up their markets?
So we are sensitizing our members about the benefits of SATAM. I can confess it's not easy. As I said, we will organize a capacity building workshop soon with African Union Commission and African Civil Aviation Commission. And it will be an opportunity to discuss with airlines and to listen to their reservations, to try to find responses to their fears so that they can convince their government to open up their skies.
Thank you. As a strategy for SATAM, are there plans for partnerships? Is there a strategy working towards partnerships among airlines, or is just left for every airline to fight for their own and see what pie they can get for SATAM?
I don't know if I get your question correctly.
Okay, now, is there a strategy to ensure that airlines work together in a SATAM environment?
Yes, that is about all the projects we are putting in place. Some have already started. I talk about the capacity portal, sharing portal. We are also working on a spare part pooling for our members. I talk about also the route network and the connectivity portal. So AFRA is putting in place some projects which will bring our members together and bring them to work and to partner on specific projects.
Thank you. Now, finally, there are still a number of questions, but I guess because of, in the interest of time, Mr. Bette, we will forward the questions to you, and then you can respond and send the response directly to the questioners.
We'll be happy to follow up on questions.
But finally, can you give us your final thoughts on African aviation industry and the future of it?
My final thought is that African airlines are struggling today. It is a very difficult situation. The reason is travel restrictions and the impact of the COVID on economies, because economies being impacted, of course, air travel also is impacted. However, air transport remains a driver for economic development of the African continental. That's why I would like again to call states and development and financial institutions to support the recovery of the aviation sector. And also one last thought is that African governments need to accelerate the vaccination of African citizens. in order to remove travel restrictions and to come back as soon as possible at a normal business situation.
Okay, on that sweet note, we look forward to African governments doing a bit on accelerating the pace of vaccinating African citizens so that we can get about our business normally. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of all of you and myself, I would want to thank Mr. Abdulrahman Berteh, Secretary General of AFRA, for being our inaugural guest on Sky Connect Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, some piece of information before you go. The next Sky Connect will be hosted from 1400 hours to 1500 hours East African time on the 7th of April, 2021. 7th April 2021, we have the next one here. AFRA will communicate with you our next guest. You don't want to miss that session as well. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much, Mr. Berteh, and thank you to the AFRA team for putting this all together. Very insightful and very thought-provoking. Have a nice day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.